Hello boys and girls. I'm going to show you guys today how to graph a single phase treatment procedure in ABA or a single phase intervention. Okay, so usually when you approach situations like this, you're going to be given a independent variable. So it's going to be usually a measurement of time, and then a dependent variable, which is usually going to be a response rate or a duration of response, something like that. Okay, so to begin with, for sample purposes, we're going to end up creating some fake data here. So for the independent variable, let's just say that, again, to make it the easiest possible, let's use trials. When we create trials, it's good to remember that in order to create data paths that are effective, we want to have a minimum of 3 points. Otherwise, the data paths are inconclusive. So for this purpose, we're going to use, let's say, 10. Okay, so we're going to say there was 10 trials of observation. In order to make this a little bit easier, when you input 2 or more into Excel, you can just highlight 1 and 2 and then grab this little green corner on the bottom right and just pull down until you see 10. It'll autofill everything. For the first intervention, and we can just say this is going to be a baseline chart for our purpose. For the first intervention, let's say that we're measuring a behavior, and let's say that the behavior is biting. Okay, so let's just say it's biting. Okay, each observation period or trials is going to be a period of time. We don't have to disclose that when we're graphing. It's going to be written in the context. So let's say each one is about 1 minute, and we're observing how many times biting was committed in each minute interval. So let's say that here it was 5, then it was 7, so 12 in the past 2 minutes. Then let's say it didn't occur at all, and then it started occurring again 8 times in minute 7, 9 times in minute 8, and then it went back down. And that's going to be kind of how, when we gather data, it usually ends up happening. It might be better to say that these are probably 10-minute intervals because these can be kind of high, but generally speaking, that's pretty okay. To facilitate things a little bit, what we can do is just highlight all of our data and select this line tool right here and create borders around the whole thing just to make it into a chart. We can then take the chart and move it down 1 and put a name here. Let's just say this is a baseline, just because if we're ever doing phase changes, you might want to separate it. So let's say this would be phase 2 just in the future. Right now we're not going to be doing that, but if you're doing different phases, it's a little bit easier if you organize your data by phase with a title on top. Okay, to make it a little bit easier for you guys, what we're going to do now is bold this. I'm going to delete this because we don't need that right now. Okay, and then I'm going to just change the colors just to make it a little bit easier to read visually. Okay, I'm going to change this to input type. Okay, and then once we're here, what we want to do is highlight our data and click the quick analysis tool on the bottom right. When you click quick analysis tool, make sure you select charts. Under the charts, we're going to click on the more section right here. So we're going to click all charts and we're going to select a line graph. Okay. What we want to select is a line with markers. If you select a stacked line with markers, if you're using cumulative data, so if it's asking you to create a stacked line, you want to do that. But because we're going to end up doing either a single or multiple dependent variables without stacking them, so we're not looking for cumulative effect, we're going to use a standard line with markers. Okay, and we're going to end up select the first one right here. When you select it, you're going to already see an issue. Let me just remove something here really quickly. We can stretch it out a little bit, but we already kind of see an issue here. So what we want to do is just click on it, click on the select data button here, and we want to move trials to the opposite side. I want to remove this. Hang on, sorry guys. Let me just go back to what we were at. So we want to click select data, and then we want to move trials. Okay, just for this purpose, what you can do is just select trials directly, okay? And instead of selecting trials directly, we can just go here, select this, and then we have our trials. We unhighlight this. So what we can actually end up doing is removing the trials from this section completely. Okay. So we're only interested in the biting behavior. So now we see a line graph of biting behavior. Okay. Once we have that done, what we want to do is just, for chart purposes, just change the title to baseline. Okay, sorry about that small mistake. Okay, and because this is going to be an academic chart, what you want to do is remove the lines. Okay, so click the green plus above the chart and deselect grid lines so that we no longer have grid lines. Then what you want to do is you want to click the green plus sign again, and you want to add what do you call these, access titles. Okay, once you add access titles, what you want to do is, because again we're looking at rate per period of time, you want to change the dependent variable to rate, or depending on the measure that you're using, you can change it to whatever's appropriate. And then for the independent variable, what we're going to do is change it to trials, okay? Because that's what you're using. If we're using time, we'll write down the time. Okay, and then again, after you're this far, we're already pretty much set. But what we want to do is click on the line and click Format Data Series. Because this is a newer version of Excel, we don't even have to click that. The second that we click the line, it already pops up on the right side. Okay, so when this pops up, you want to click on the Fill in Line tool, and then the line color, we just want to change it to black, again, for academic purposes. Once you have that, one of the biggest reasons why we don't select a regular line graph is because we want the data labels right here. And because I'm going to be showing you guys how to do this with two separate dependent variables in one graph, it's very important that we have the data markers. Okay, so the next step is going to be to click the data markers and then Format Data Series. Again, because it's a newer version of Excel, you don't even have to click on Format Data Series. It automatically gets you here. Once you're here, click on the Fill in Line tool again, and then there's two tabs under the Fill in Line tool. Now, because we already did the line, we want to format the markers. So click on the markers and always change the markers to black. After you change the, well, first you have to go to marker options, and okay, so after that's done, click under marker options, built in. Okay, and this is going to open kind of an area here for you to change the marker type. So like you can see right now, the marker is right here, little orange dots. What we want to do is change it. Okay, so marker options, built in, type, and for this one we'll use squares. We'll increase the size to 8 so that they're more visible. Okay, and then we will make sure you change the color again. I think I accidentally didn't change it. Okay, and at that point the first variable is already graphed, and this is probably you know, good enough for a single data point. So we see the path and whatever, and now if you want to add the trend line as well, for whatever purpose you might want to do that, you can press the plus button up here and add the trend line, so you can see how you would predict the data if it kept going, let's say in a baseline, to do a prediction. Okay, for this purpose right now we're not going to use that, but after you have this, you're pretty much all set. You just keep adding the trials and the data as you get it. Now I'm going to show you guys how to add a second dependent variable into the data. So what we're going to do is, let's say we're measuring another behavior during a baseline period. We're going to add, let's say, slapping. Okay, and we're going to use the same number of trials. So for the slapping data, let's say we got 2 here, 3, 3, 3, 10, and then let's say it went flat for a while, and then we had 12. Okay, again, I'm gonna just change the color so it's a little bit more manageable, and I'm gonna bold it and select the border tool and put borders on all the sides so that it becomes a chart. And now what I'm going to end up doing is right click my chart and click select data. Okay, so for this one I'm going to click add, and I'm going to add this. Okay, hang on. Okay, so in order to add the second variable, what we're going to end up doing is clicking the select data, and then we're going to click the add button right here, so that we don't lose all the stuff that we already did with the first one. So first, the first box is going to ask you for a series name. You can just, for that one, while you're clicked inside of it, just click the title here. Okay, and then for the series value, highlight the series value and press equals, and then just use your mouse while inside of there to grab the whole series, and it'll tell Excel to graph it using this box to this box, then click OK. Now you can click OK again. Okay, and like you can see, now we have two separate datas, or two separate dependent variables. So for the second one, follow exactly what we did with the first one. Change the color to black, and then go to markers, change the marker color to black, go to marker options, click built-in, and now select a different marker for the second line. Okay, change the size to fit the other one, and click out, and now you have effectively created a chart with two separate variables. Now what you want to do is re-add the legend. So click the plus sign above on the top right side of the graph and check the legend button. It kind of looks weird like this, so what you want to do is click the legend button, click format legend, and this should pop up. Preferably keep it on the bottom. Okay, and there you have it. You have two separate dependent variables in one phase graph. So it's a one phase graph, non-stacking, with two variables. And let me just fix this really quickly for you guys. You can keep adding more and more and more variables here, and when we begin talking about phases, you add phases here. So phase, another graph, phase, another graph. Usually in each individual phase you're going to continue measuring the same dependent variables, as well as you're probably going to keep the same independent variable. So I hope this was very helpful to all of you, and if you like it, comment, subscribe, whatever you're going to do. In the next video, I'm gonna show you guys how to add phase lines, so you can have a baseline, intervention, baseline, so on and so forth, whatever you're gonna have to do. Obviously this is a very basic intro version to graphing in the field of ABA, and everything from here on is going to get a little bit more complicated, but hopefully everything is very clear to everybody. So again, if you have any questions, post them below, and you can visit my website, theorderoftheironphoenix.com, for additional resources and tips and help and whatever else you might find helpful. Okay, thanks so much. Bye bye.